Today we'll be talking about leadership and more so inner development. And the picture that I'd like to draw to all the listeners that are listening today is the kind of society we have today that rewards people based on what they do and not who they are. So it also rewards them on what they do and how they do things and not necessarily who they are and why they do things. So this is very important for us to understand, because then we understand that when society glorifies the what and the how instead of the who and the why, what then happens is that people's mindsets are then conditioned to conform to the status quo, because then development is something that is outer in and not something that's inner out. I know I've said a lot of things right now, but I know that Lebo will be also, to join me as we unpack this problem that we see, because quite frankly, Lebo, the society that we see today is a society that has people who lack depth, right? Where people show up on surface level based on what they do and how they do things, but there's not necessarily a conversation that is ongoing in our society that values and treasures who the person is and why they do the things that they do.
So just a reiteration. So we really have a lack of character and a lack of depth in society, and we look to see value in what people have, their cars, their houses, what they do, where they work, and things like that, and not on who they are on the inside. And it's not even surprising that we have this, because as you said, our society has built this in us, and it's important even in that to recognize that we are in a capitalist society. So because of that, a lot of people derive their self-worth in terms of their productivity, so what they can, how they work, or what they do and how much they can exploit themselves, and they don't necessarily see their self-worth as intrinsic in themselves, in who they are. And even if you look at our education system, we have such a heavy focus on what people are going to become, and they must learn this, or they must learn this content, they must learn how to regurgitate it, they must make sure that they understand it, but we don't have an education system that's developing the whole individual and the whole student. So how often, even in your schooling years, 12 entire years, how often did we get asked, what is your purpose? Who are you? What is the gift that you're going to be doing in the world?
Absolutely.
Why do you want to study this? What impact are you trying to make on the world and on society? Yet we focus so much on what are you going to become, not on who do you want to become. What kind of person do you aspire to be? And I mean, 12 years of that really does take its toll on us as individuals, on us as a society. Really speaking back to this idea of how we derive our self-worth, not in who we are or why we do things, but in what we do and what we have.
Absolutely. And perhaps, Lebo, that also sort of contributes to the fact that you have a sportsman who will have so many accolades, right, and so many achievements, and then you would realize that that very same sportsman is one who will be involved in a GBV incident, where you'll find that that person is an abuser of his wife, and then you ask yourself, "Hi man, this person was a sportsman, but we forgot that person specialized in the what and not in the who. Had they focused on developing their character, had they been exposed to intrinsic wealth, understanding that true value is not meant to come in from what you do but who you are, maybe they would have contributed to themselves becoming better people, innately or internally rather." And perhaps, Lebo, then begs the question of, what are the implications of such a society whereby what is valued is the what and the how things are done, and what people have, what is valued is the facade, the surface level things, instead of the who and the why, which is where you find the depth of character. What are the implications of that conditioning that takes place?
I mean, before I even respond to that, I just want to reiterate. I think you even made a good point and a good example of, the idea of the sports person. And I think, you related it on an individual level in saying that that individual did not focus on, their who they are, and really focus on what they do. So, we develop individuals who have really low moral compasses and don't know who they are, essentially. But I think even in terms of looking at how we as the society react to people like that, especially if you even look in the music industry, there are a lot of musicians who have really bad, like they really bad figures, in terms of what they've done. But, you'll have people who still say, well, we should separate, the person from what they do. But really, it reflects each other. We need to start becoming a society where we recognize the impact of, inner work and understanding who you are, on also in understanding your work and what you do.
Absolutely.
And really the implications of, this lack of inner development, in especially if we now draw back to this idea of the lack of inner development within leaders in particular. An example that we can even speak of is, in the example of gatekeeping. So, you have, especially in youth spaces and especially with women, in like there is a lack of spaces for women and youth to actually be able to actualize and to occupy spaces of leadership. And within those spaces you'll find that an individual gets there, and instead of bringing everyone along with them, they end up becoming a gatekeeper. So, and I really would link this to inner work, because I really firmly believe that when you as a person are not solid in who you are, you feel threatened by everyone else.
Absolutely.
So the idea of another leader coming in, another woman or another youth leader coming into the same space as you, you feel threatened. You have fear. You don't want that person to compete against you, because you're not solid within yourself. You're not grounded within yourself, and you don't recognize that you as your person have your own strengths. You have your own intrinsic value in that space that has nothing to do with the other person. Your mission and your purpose is completely different from the mission and purpose of another person, and you don't feel threatened by that. But what we have now is, we get to the space and there are people who don't want to bring others along with them because they feel threatened. They want to be the only one who succeeds and goes to the front. They do not want to bring other people, because then it threatens who they are. It threatens their self-worth.
Wow. Lebo, and
even no, carry on.
Okay, so with what you're saying, I'm trying to link it up with what you spoke about earlier about the capitalist system, and now I'm realizing that how often as people do we take time to reflect on the implication of these systems on us, right? Because I'd like to believe that what you're saying now are only the results of the capitalist system that promotes individualism. So now what it then happens by this system, it then promotes us being individualistic in our mindsets at grassroots level, where we believe that to succeed means I need to do it alone. I don't need other people, and that really attributes to what we're seeing on the ground. You can carry on.
I think even just mirroring what you're saying, that the best form of leadership that we've seen is shared leadership. So understanding that we can go it alone, but when we go together we go further. And a lot of things can be done when we are not working from our egos, but we're working from a place where we're so solid and sure in who we are as a leader, that we're able to share power and to create leaders in other people, and trust in their leadership abilities as well.
And perhaps Lebo,
and I was even
no sorry
I was even thinking, even the example and the case of like with corruption, recently we've been seeing with this COVID scandal where they stole billions,
coveredpreneurs.
I really think that it links towards a lack of inner development and inner leadership and inner strength, people don't know who they are. So you want to focus on the what. You want to focus on getting big cars and big houses and validating your existence with material things, because in yourself, you are not sure. You do not know who you are. You do not know your purpose in this world. So now you find yourself stealing money from people who need it just so you can validate yourself in front of others with what you have. You can go on your trips overseas so other people can see you. You know, it's a direct reflection, I would argue, of a lack of inner development, of really not knowing who you are, and especially within the leadership space where there's such a dire need for, you know, effective leadership and people who are rooted in why they do what they're doing and who they are, understanding how it impacts their work, that we're needing right now.
And Lebo, just to allude to what you're saying, or maybe echo, is to say that you spoke about ego, and I'd like to think that ego is the manifestation of us trying to hide our insecurities, you know. So we use things in order just to cover up for what's really, you know, underneath. And you'll find that really this corruption is a result of people being unsure of themselves, as you're saying, and that it really has nothing to do with the people, that it's really you know, negatively impacting. With that being said, right, with ego and insecurity being at the bedrock, I really think that that results in people having a lack of political will. And before we even go to political will, like in the governance structure, or people who are political representatives to represent a collective, you'll find that a person now is bankrupt of their own will because they've already given in to their ego personally. Or as an individual, they've already given into their insecurities as an individual. They've already given into external validation as an individual. So now when it comes to making policies for an entire nation, do we not think then those policies will work in favor, not for the best interests of the majority, but for the best interests of themselves? So
no, definitely.
Yeah, so those are the type of implications that we need to understand, that it also leads to also unsustainable institutions. So you'll find that in South Africa, as a developing country, we're supposed to have, you know, develop, and the reason why we will talk about institutions level is because we are talking about leadership here, and every organization rises and falls on its leadership, right? As well as each and every institution. So that is to say also, in South Africa, we're a developing country, and we've got institutions that are meant to be development agencies, you know, and we'll maybe question those policies that people will seek to implement, saying that they are for the betterment of the majority of South Africans, whereas, you know, these people have battled with their inner work or inner insecurities. How then would they be able to represent the people of South Africa properly? And perhaps those are questions that we would like viewers or listeners rather at home to be able to interrogate themselves and maybe ask themselves, you know.
I think, you know, in leadership, there's this idea of, you know, the golden circle of leadership. So understanding and reaching the point where the type of leadership that you're able to embody really has significant impact on society. So it starts with, you know, the why and the how. You know, so the who and the why. So with the who, you know, you understand yourself, you understand your own purpose, you know, you understand your values, and you understand your position in society. And that is then influences, you know, the why. So why do you do the things you do? What sets you on fire? What is your purpose? You know, and you know, then we have the things on the outside. So, you know, we spoke about the what. So what you do and how you do it. Now, if you don't know who you are, you have no connection with why you're doing what you do. So even now, when you're speaking about, you know, policies that are misdirected or misaligned and have really no substantial benefit on the communities that they're serving,
Yeah.
it's really rooted in this idea that these people don't know who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
because of that, they don't know why they're doing what they do. They have no connection to themselves, which means they have no connection to their communities that they serve, which means a lot of the times,
Sure.
you know, we focus on the what, we
Yeah.
focus on really great policies and really great programs that we want to run. And, you know, we think of it, you know, devoid and detached from who
Yeah.
we are as
Yeah.
individuals and the value that we ascribe to things, you know, and the moment that you start becoming in tune with who you are and why you do things,
Yeah.
we get to the point where we're able to have deliberate action. So in
Yeah,
everything that
yeah,
we do,
yeah.
we are aware of our feelings around
Yeah.
it. We're aware of the impact that we want to have
Yeah.
on society,
Yeah,
on those
yeah.
around us. You know, we have value in
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah, and Lebo, just also with regards to that of deliberate action, I really believe that it's a course, it's a journey really of really becoming and understanding that there's a certain mindset of resilience that needs to be forged first and foremost in an individual. What do I mean by a mindset of resilience? I mean a mindset whereby you as an individual are not changed by external circumstances because you are rooted in who you are rooted in why you do the things that you do, and you're not really rooted in what you do and how you do it, because that's subject to change at any given time, right? But who you are, you know, will always remain consistent, and you know, why you do the things that you do will always remain consistent. And I think maybe that is why we are really, you know, when we talking, yeah, we're not just talking problems, but we're also talking solutions. Maybe when we're going towards the solution end, what we are proposing is that maybe as people we should take some time and look at the inner work and not despise the inner work that we need to do as individuals, so that we can be able to influence society from the inside out instead of being influenced from the outside in. Because that's what we are getting nowadays. That's why we have so many conformists, and leadership and conformity are two different things, right? And they are on two different ends. So yeah, Lebo, I mean, for me on my side, I love the fact that you spoke about deliberate action and how that only comes about when we focus on the inner work of who we really are and why we do the things that we do, you know, because that really alludes to then the society and in terms of solutions that we can envision, right? Which is a society that will really focus on the who and the why of the individual. So instead of promoting even as reward systems, because I believe society has its mechanisms and systems as well, right? So even in the reward systems, in your schooling system and everything, we would then look at a society whereby people would cherish, you know, someone's genuine effort of becoming themselves, right? Standing out, things like being different, right? We could be able to embrace those things, because nowadays the society that we're in, the moment as Bohlale, I know you and I, Lebo, you know, we are very passionate, and when we talk sometimes we can be loud, you know, because we're passionate about the things that we talk about. So for some people they speak slower, right? But in our society you can be taught that you speaking louder is wrong, right? Or and why I draw those parallels is because I want to say, man, we need to cultivate a society whereby people can be fine being different, you know, so long as they're who they are and they're expressing their true values, their core, you know, principles, and really they're living out from the inside out. I really think there should be enough grace towards them. And maybe also, here's something that I also want to speak on: compassion. I really think that the society that we should envision is a society that has compassion, right? A society that is able to empathize with one another. And you can never be able to empathize with other people and show compassion to other people if you have not shown it unto yourself, right? And the only way you can show it unto yourself is if you focus on that inner work, you know, take that time to yourself, get to understand who you are. You know, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses, right? Because your weaknesses, when you're in a team, will work, as a strength to someone else, and then you can be able to collaborate, So yeah, those are some of the thoughts that I have around that, Lebo. And I really think we've got about 5 minutes left, and I really think the name of the show is Refining Perspectives, Lebo, and more than anything, we've identified the problem, and we are sort of trying to draw the solution or the society that we want to see near the end. And I think the general message that we're bringing across is that inner work is very important because it develops strong leaders, who are rooted rooted by who they are, and by the knowledge of why they are here, That way they are not subject to change based on circumstances and external conditions that are to arise, I don't know if you could have some words on that last part.
Yeah, I think just, echoing what you're saying, that as individuals, even right now, to just reflect on the amount of time in our lives that we dedicate to what we do or how we do something, and the amount of time comparatively that we dedicate to understanding why we're doing something, or who we are, what's our connection to all of it, who are we trying to be, what are our values, what is the kind of person that we want to be, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You have people who are developing, even in terms of, we always ask this question of, what's your 5-year plan? And people will mention, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be here, I want to work here, I want to know how to do this. But seldom do we have people responding that, I want to be someone who is accountable in 5 years and learn how to master that. I want to be someone who's self-disciplined. I want to be someone who, does not allow their ego to take over, or their emotions, and wants to be, so we don't focus on, the character vision. We focus on, what we want to do, how we want to do it, where we want to be, what kind of car we want to drive, our house. We focus on so many of this. We do not focus on our vision of our character and the time that it takes to actually really develop that.
Wow. And just to echo that, we should put more emphasis on, the inner work, the virtue that is found in our characters, because that's where we find depth as individuals. And Lebo, yo, this was fire. This was amazing. I'm sure even the listeners at home, are really in sync and tuned in. The number to dial on WhatsApp is 063-698-7566. I'll repeat it. It's 063-698-7566. You are tuned in to Refining Perspectives exclusive on your favorite radio station, #Radio 537. We are changing the narrative, right? And just before we close off this side of the podcast, I know Tobani is going to put us through to his show so that we can take calls and WhatsApps, voice notes and WhatsApps from our listeners. But what's the perspective of the evening, Lebo, to the listeners that are listening today?
So I'd say the biggest perspective and the idea that I think a lot of people should leave with is the impact of our inner work and developing our inner leadership capacities, and how that can really have more depth and impact on society and on the work that we do and what we do. So really it's an understanding of first being rooted in who we are, why we do things, and then understand what we do and why and how we do it, and connecting all of those.
Wow, absolutely. I really enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed it too, Lebo, and I know that the listeners at home probably did enjoy it.